What's up, TLF family? This is a very personal topic I'm going to talk about today, and if you've watched my Instagram story, you know this was coming. I was talking about how, on Instagram, on Facebook, there's a lot of positivity that I share, but sometimes it's hard to get to know the actual person behind the screen. So this is me sharing a little bit about what I went through for the past 7 to 8 years, but also how I've overcome it, and I still have systems in place to deal with it, and it's anxiety. And I see a lot of people in the gym here, people that I know that struggle with this. Some very unknowingly, they're just kind of going on a pattern, on a program, they don't even know what's going on, it's just running. Okay, so I'm going to draw a bit of a map for you guys and talk to you about how to deal with it, what's actually going on physiologically, hormonally, what's causing you all this kind of struggle and pain. But before I do that, quick little snapshot into anxiety. If you do struggle with it, you know how all-consuming it can be. It can take over your life, it can take over your entire workday, your relationships. It can destroy relationships. It can destroy your sense of self, where you don't even know who you are anymore. And you're just kind of in this never-ending cycle where you're pushing things down, you're avoiding them, and you build up this dis-ease in your system, and your throat clenches up, you can't breathe, and the system continues. If you ever had a panic attack, that's the result of chronic anxiety, and I've had several of those. So if you've had them, all my empathy goes out to you, and I hope my journey throughout dealing with anxiety and this video is resourceful for you. It helps you throughout your journey. But first, I want to say, without going any further, always seek a medical professional first before even trying any of these methods. But let's get into it. Let's rock it. Let's talk about anxiety. Now, when I went through anxiety for the past 7 to 8 years, I didn't even know what was going on. It was just like this all-consuming sense of tightness and unease that went around my shoulders and neck. Like when too much, too soon happened, didn't know how to deal with it, pushed down the emotions, said I don't want to deal with it right now. I was going to compartmentalize it and go on to the next thing. And the more I did that, the worse it got. So what was happening within me? Okay, anxiety. The emotion that caused the anxiety could have been anything. Like someone gave me a bad critique, or someone said something mean to me, or someone was being overly critical or disapproving. That caused anxiety in my system. Or I had all this work to do. Anxiety went up. What does that do psychologically to you? Well, you start to decrease dopamine, decrease serotonin, which are really good feeling chemicals in the body. Then you go to your physiology, right? Your heart rate goes up. We feel that. That's very visceral. Our blood pressure goes up. Our breathing diminishes. So we start to breathe like this. It's very shallow. Of course, I'm exaggerating it, but this is what's happening in real time. All these things are beginning to happen. Now, if you can become aware of them off the bat, then we can do something about it. But you have all this happening, it translates into a whole slew of hormonal issues. Okay? So you have decreased melatonin, which is required for you to sleep. It's the most powerful antioxidant in the body. To get really restful sleep, you need that. Increased cortisol, so your stress is going up. This is like the antithesis of everything good in the body if it's chronic. It's not a bad thing if it's in the right range, but if it's too much, it's bad. Decreased insulin sensitivity, so you're not able to actually take your food and put it into your muscle cells as well. It's more likely going into fat. This is why we have our cravings. Decreased testosterone, why is that important for men and women? Helps you build muscle, helps you burn fat, keeps your libido up and running. Decreased growth hormone, important for your bone mass, for your brain. And then decreased leptin regulation, which is fat regulation, which is also very important. If you can't regulate where fat's being stored, where does it go? It goes to storage. So all of this, this cocktail of chemicals causes inflammation. So you get inflamed in your gut, because your gut's heavily tied to your immune system. Inflammation chronically over time causes disease. So you can see this kind of pathway of what's happening throughout the system, right? And the disease could be anything. It could be a metabolic problem. It could be a liver issue. It could be your adrenals burning out. It could be a skin problem like I had. I had one of the worst skin conditions in the world, where I was bleeding from my armpits every day, drenched in blood. and feeling like crap every single day. No libido, low testosterone, low muscle mass, everything was terrible, right? And it was a never-ending loop that just kept feeding itself. The dis-ease now made me feel even more anxious. I went through the same cycle and it just kept going over and over and over. It's a vicious loop. And if we're not willing to go into it, it will always consume us. And I was just talking to Mick about this, like people either act from a place of inspiration or desperation. This for me was my desperation. I got to the disease state and I was like, I gotta do something, anything. Because the doctor wants to cut into me and give me surgery. I gotta do anything, right? And it's sad, but desperation often will move us to change. I don't want that for any of you, so I hope this is resourceful for all of you guys. What do you do about it, right? Like, how did I even navigate this? Well, the first thing is awareness, understanding what is happening physiologically in your body. You can feel a palpable increase in your heart rate if you actually pay attention. You can feel your blood pressure rising because you can feel your blood just like pumping into all walls of your body. You can feel your breathing being shallow because it doesn't. It takes like you're no longer doing a deep, full breath. Now and you can feel the muscles of your neck and your shoulders tightening up. Those are things you can be aware of. Now, what you do with the awareness is really important because simply being aware and then accepting that fact and pushing it down makes this cycle worse, okay? That's something I learned the hard way. And once you begin to feel these things, you can punt and shift towards some sort of meditation and awareness practice. It doesn't have to be you sitting there and breathing. It doesn't have to be you sitting in a float tank doing sensory deprivation. It can be any practice. You can literally be standing there at work, feeling these things, and then you feel your breath go down, you feel all these things happening, and you can choose to slow down and even talk to yourself, hey, I'm having a bit of an anxiety attack, okay, it's okay. I'm gonna first begin to breathe. That's one of the easiest things you can change physiologically to then change how you feel psychologically. Okay? So if we begin to breathe deep, like breathing into the corners of your ribs, like really, and just saying, hey, it's okay, it's gonna be okay. It's like literally talking to yourself, I'm okay. And then actually asking yourself, what am I feeling? And like, where do I feel it? Do I feel it in my neck? Do I feel it in my chest? Is it circling around? Like, what is the emotion doing to me? Like, note what it feels like specifically, right? For me, it would be like this circling effect around my head where I felt dizzy and I just kept getting tighter and tighter and tighter. So what I would do after I was taking deep breaths, I would take a break from my work and go right into writing that down somewhere, a piece of paper, dictating on your phone, whatever it takes. Address the emotion, write it down. Because if you write it down, now you actually have, again, awareness of what it is and you can do something about it. Okay? But if you have no idea what the pattern is, you're just kind of running on that autopilot program. So awareness first, that comes from deep breathing, slowing down, acknowledging what the emotion is, then writing that sucker down. And once you see it for what it is, keep breathing, then let it go. Like, okay, that's what it is, I'm gonna let it go. Then you move forward from there. Okay? Because if you let this keep going, it goes to this hormonal cocktail of destruction, goes to inflammation, and repeats that disease. Okay? So those are two big things I would do is just start to become aware in the moment when it was happening. It's hard to cultivate that skill, but the more you practice it, you understand that this is a skill set. It's not just something you have to do, it's a skill you're having to learn, just like anything in life, right? So those are the first two things. Now, other things that were really important, nutrition. So important. If you're already an anxious person, drinking coffee, y'all, is not the best idea. Because coffee is what? It's a stimulant. What does it do? It increases your heart rate, increases your blood pressure. How's your breathing? Probably belabored, right? So coffee is not the best idea. Okay? And I always hear people like, oh, coffee is like my spirit animal or whatever, right? And I get it, like, it is something that gives you instant focus. But in the long run, it's not helping you sleep better. It's increasing your stress levels. It's feeding into this terrible loop. Unless you address this stuff, coffee shouldn't be in the mix. Okay? That's important. Second thing about nutrition is you want to eat foods that are anti-inflammatory because you want to affect this process if it even gets there. But you want to think about being preemptive and almost like thinking before it happens, right? But if it does happen, you have a whole slew of things you can use. So think vegetables. As many cruciferous vegetables as you can, as many green vegetables, lots of colors of vegetables is key. The more you can get that in, the better for your body overall, okay? So key. Now, same goes with fats, eating enough fats, eating enough carbs, proteins. All those things are very, very important. And if you're not paying attention to the quality of your food, guess what? You're feeding into that inflammatory state, because you have foods like McDonald's or fried chicken that you eat are just unrecognizable by your gut. So your immune system attacks it and causes more problems in the long run. It makes it way worse. Alcohol, drugs, all that stuff, cut that out, okay? So important. So those things are very important. Now, think about your environment. If you are in a stressful environment at work, you have to pull yourself out. You have to communicate with your superiors, communicate with whoever's around you. I need to step out right now. I need to go get some fresh air. I'm having an anxiety attack. I need to take care of this. So if you notice that about yourself, get out of that environment. Pull yourself out. Are you in a toxic relationship? Are you in a toxic union with somebody? Is your immediate friend group not supportive? Well, either talk to them about it or find a different friend group, okay? Because it's not going to help you with this process, okay? So that's important. Now, lifestyle. What kind of lifestyle do you live? Are you always moving from client to client? Do you run a business? Do you have a family with like 5, 6 kids? What's going on with you, right? Acknowledging what your lifestyle is like will allow you to program and systemize when you take care of yourself. Right? So if you know you have a bunch of kids, you may have to wake up earlier in the day to do some of this work, this breathing work, this awareness work, this writing down your emotions, eating, taking care of yourself. And from that place, then you can begin to even take care of everything else around you. But if you already have a tendency to have anxiety, you're just going about your day and saying, well, this is the way it is, you will always come back to that state. Okay, so be aware of what your lifestyle is like so you can make necessary changes. Wake up earlier, put it in your schedule. I need to do my breathing work. I need to do my nutrition work. I need to prep my meals on time. I need to exercise. I need to work out. That's very, very important. Movement, that's what I was talking about. That brings me to my next point. Movement is key. But I think when most people get in the gym, they're looking to kill it, right? They want to go in there and just CrossFit it, push it hard, throw a bar over their head, they're breathing hard, they're dead on the floor. But again, think about the same thing. If you're an over anxious person, you just go into not even breathing into your movement. Guess what? You're gonna feel dizzy, you feel nauseous, you're gonna pass out. It doesn't feel good. Just slow down your movement patterns. Slow down your squat, slow down your deadlift. Slow everything down and focus on your breath. Focus on your bracing here. Focus on what's going on internally. And the more you can do that, the more control you can exert over your body, the more confident you will feel about how to tackle this. But if you feel like you're not confident enough to do it, you will just let this program run and take over your life. So you being aware of your body allows you to take care of your psychology. But it takes slowing down, okay? And then one thing I think is so important is empathy, compassion. So having empathy towards yourself first, empathizing with the fact that this is a real thing and that it's okay that you feel it, and it's okay to address the emotions that come up. It's not weak. Being vulnerable is actually something that's really strong to do. Like being vulnerable with yourself, with people around you, allows you to actually address the issue at hand. Okay? And from that place, it helps you be more compassionate with the people around you. And it's kind of this nice loop of going back and forth. Empathy for yourself, compassion for them, and they feed it back to you. Okay? It's a harder concept to grasp, but having self-love for yourself involves this entire process, y'all. Awareness first. And just like Jasper Vishal says right here, is no self-shame. Like if you start to shame yourself for feeling these emotions, I'm gonna stuff it down because I deserve to not feel good. I need to push through it. Guess what? You take yourself back to this state. And if you're young right now and you think you can push through it, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like I had it hit me when I was 23, 22 years old. So I guess I was fortunate in some ways, but also it was unfortunate because it was so young. that I had to address it early. But I wouldn't want this to continue for some of y'all, and you feel like now you have to address it out of desperation. Because it is the worst thing in the world to feel like you're stuck in this vicious loop. So empathy and compassion, talk to people you trust. And first you gotta learn how to trust yourself. Trust yourself to be able to take care of you completely, holistically first. And then from there you can really combat this thing that we call anxiety. All right, y'all, that's all I have. Peace.